Hi, this is Dorothy Smith, and I am going to recreate two cards that are in the catalog, that is the January-February catalog. And this goes along with this really pretty stamp and thin cut set. And so those are the cards. And I'm doing this because one of my groups wants to make these cards, so I had to kind of figure out how to size all the pieces and do the stamping with this. So it put a carrot out for me. It gave me a goal, and it was actually really nice to do. It was fun. I enjoyed doing the pine branches and coloring the birds. My birds were robin redbreasts, so they're some of the first birds that you really see out there in the winter. And anywho, that's what I'm doing. So these are the papers that I'm using. These are the Spruced Up papers, and the cards. I'm just using my stash of value pack of cards and envelopes. And I will tell you, I did make some changes. So the background on the card on the right is actually that background and texture paper, but I decided not to use a whole lot of it and to just use the sangria cardstock as my background. And so the first piece that I cut, which, I love that little bird paper. So it is 3.5 by about 4.25 in length. And I'm just setting it so that there's a 1/4 inch border all around, and then the bottom is going to get covered up. And actually it looks to me like they made a piece of white cardstock and put texture paste on it to make it like snow. But rather than have the thickness of the texture paste on a card, I'm just taking a couple of like 1.25 inch by, what did I say that was in width? It is 3 3/4 inches. And I'm ripping it so that the full cut edge is on display. And that is going to be my snow. I'm pretending. And so I am just making that even edge to edge, and I'm putting in 2 layers so there's a little bit more depth. Now, one thing I could have done was to add some pop-up foam pieces to make it look like there was more depth in the snow. Now, I didn't really want to cover up all my cute little birds, so they use the wood paper, the whitewash wood paper. I'm using vellum to just kind of de-enhance the background, to just kind of make it a little bit, I don't know, like it's in the background. So, but I didn't want to cover up all those cute little birds. So I just figured they could be part of the remote background. And so I went ahead and so there's the stamp set, and then there's all of the, on the lower left there, those are all the thin cuts, which I went ahead and already made all the thin cuts. So I'm using espresso and New England ivy and fern. Now, I got these colors on the zip strip. So our zip strips always tell you what colors coordinate with the paper. And so that's what I'm doing. So I'm first putting the stem in espresso, doing an overall look with the fern, and then darkening the edges with the New England ivy. So you want to put do the light first when you're doing the rock and roll technique, and do the dark last so that you're not messing up your lighter stamp. So here's the other pine branch, and once again it's sort of the rock and roll technique. So the fern first and then the New England ivy. And by using a couple of colors, you add a kind of a more natural look to the branching. So I was really happy the way these branches came out looking with the mixture of fern and New England ivy. And then they've got 2 different size pine cones. So I'm just using the straight espresso. So it looks perfect on both of the pine cones. So that, I wasn't sure exactly how this was going to work, but this worked out just fine. I didn't know whether I should, do all the stamping in intense black and then color it over with markers or pencils. But now the little bird I am doing in intense black. But I really like the way the color stamping looked on the branches and the pine cones. So here's my intense black, and here's my first little bird. And so I line them up. So with the intense black, it dries very quickly, and then you can go over it, whether it's markers or our tri-blend markers. This time I'm going to use the pencils. And, robins are, kind of brownish, grayish on top. And then they've got that dark orangey breast. So I'm adding more intensity to the orange. And here's my blending pen, my blending tool. And I'm just smoothing out all of the coloring lines. The pencil lines disappear with the blending tool. And then look at how that orange just kind of intensifies. I mean, is that cool? Because it didn't look that intense before. So I love the way my little robin looks. I think he came out or she came out looking just really, really cute. I kind of wish that I had popped up that second piece of snowdrift in the front there. But oh well, First you do and then you think, right? So I'm just trying to figure out how do I want to put it the way they did it in the book, or, I kind of decided to just kind of keep the branches off to the right-hand side or left-hand side. And I'm going to tuck so I'm just kind of figuring out, how I want to do this. And I'm going to put the little bird down in the snow. And so I'm going to pop up the branches just to add some depth with my large pop-up dots, foam dots, with the little one down at the stem. And there we go. Oops, stickum is coming off. Sometimes that happens. The stickum wants to stay with the carrier sheet. So I'm going to add some more popping up here. Pretty much everything is getting popped up. So I think this has been some of my favorite paper in a while. I really love this little bird setting, and I love the feel of the paper. And the whitewash wood, totally adore it. And I really like this stamp set, and I didn't know whether I should get it. And then, like I said, my one group decided they wanted it. And it's like, okay, that's all I need is to just kind of, have a goal. They challenge me and say they want to do that. And then whoops, excuse me. Shut my phone off. Silly phone. Okay, so I'm tucking my little bird in so his little feet are in the snow, because robins don't mind. And I'm going to, so this is another thin cut, and it's the stitched oval thin cut. And so I'm putting Thinking of You, so it was a perfect size. Yeah, I'm gathering up sequins. Anyway, this brush is so cool. So I got this at a store called, I don't know how to say it, Daiso, D-A-I-S-O. Anyway, it has a lot of Japanese imported goods. And this was one of their makeup brushes, and it feels so good on the face. It's just super, super smooth and soft, but it does this gorgeous job of distressing Just super, super soft, much better than a sponge does. So I think I might have to get some more of these brushes. They were like, a bigger one was like $2 or $3, and that little one I think was $1. Anyway, they are super nice brushes. Definitely going to get some more. And I am just trying to tuck it kind of under the snow and under the branch. There we go. And so there's my little card. Now the only thing I didn't add to it were snowflakes, but I'm going to instead just put some the silver glitter gems around for like little sparkling snowflakes coming down. And I'm just using the small ones to sporadically place them here and there. Anyway, I think this is a really pretty card. And, thank you, my Saturday Dallas Scrapper group. And then I'm just adding 2 to the bottom there. I love my little bird. Anyway, love that card. Okay, set everything aside, start all over again. Okay, so card number 2 is the left-hand card. So there is my card, and then this is the full background. So it's 5.5 by 4.25, and it's just going to go on there full. And if you see like a little white peeking out, like it kind of, maybe the scoring wasn't perfect on it. Anyway, you can take a sponge and go around the edges and get rid of that white sticking through so much. Now this is a piece of mink cardstock, and I'm using the light side of the mink. So this is 5 by 3 3/4, and I'm going to place pop them up. Now these I didn't, since you saw how I did the first set of pine branches, these I had already done, and I didn't figure I needed to do it again. So I'm just going to, these are going to come from both sides. So it's going to come in from one side and then in from the other. And once again, adding some depth. Now I'm just kind of doing this kind of lightly dashed line around the edge, just to give some definition to the light cardstock there. I don't know, it just kind of helps to make it look finished or something. I don't know what it does, but it always looks kind of better when you do it. It's like when you distress things, they kind of look finished. So there's a branch coming from the right, and then there's going to be another one coming from the left. I thought that these pine branches were going to be harder than what they were. They actually weren't hard to do at all. And, sometimes pines aren't, just a total deep green. They have kind of a yellowish hue to them. The pines, the leaves are never, the little pine needles are never perfectly homogeneous in color. So using the lighter, the yellowish fern color with the New England ivy really, really helps to make the leaves look, the pine needles look more realistic. And I'm going to add a little bit more orange to this little bird. We're going to go up into his little cheek. And then here comes the blending pen. And it's like, magic just kind of happens with the blending tool. And it just kills me that can get so much more intense. The orange gets so much more intense when you add the blending tool to it. I don't understand it, but I love it. So here comes my little bird. I'm going to pop him up. And I'm going to sit him on a branch, like he's standing on the needles. Yeah. It's hard to kind of find the perfect placement for it. Okay, so this card has a little banner that says thank you on it. And so I went ahead and did this little, oh, let me see, what size is the banner? It's started off at about 2.25 inches. Or 2.5 inches, and it's down to, I trimmed it down to 2.25 by 3/4 of an inch. And so it just holds thank you very nicely. And then I added a piece of the zip strip, one of the zip strips, and I'm just trimming it to go along with the cut of the banner cut. And I am going to, I've used the darker side of the gray, so it sticks out from the light background there, the bird and pine background. So this is the darker side of the mink, and with a little added of the zip strip, the green zip strip on the, my computer did a hiccup there. So anyway, I'm kind of cutting off a little bit so it can fit in there a little bit better. And so I'm taking it all the way out to the edge. And there's my thank you. And so I'm going to, it just kind of looks bare up in that corner. I probably could have done some little snowflakes with the stamp set. But I'm going to get an extra piece of one of the branches that I had done for another card. And I'm just trying to figure out how can I place it. And so what I'm going to have to do is, then it gets too crowded looking up there. So I'm pulling off one of my pine cones, which I'm going to have to restick. And I'm going to have to cut that off because it's just too long. So I'm cutting off the stem, and then I'm going to tuck that branch underneath. But I'm not going to pop it up because it's going to get tucked underneath the popped up branch, like it's coming from behind it. And then I'll put have to add another dot to the pine cone. And see, that just kind of filled it in. Not completely, but just enough to, add a little bit more balance to it. And last thing I'm going to do is add a few more of the silver glitter gems, like it's a little snowy out. And there we go. I am happy. I am happy with my 2 little cards, and I think my ladies will love them. And they weren't especially hard to do. I mean, probably the most time-consuming thing really was doing the die cuts. And these, I mean, I've told you ladies before, people, there may be some men here, that the new die cut machine that Close to My Heart is selling, my goodness, does it do a spectacular job. So there's my cards. Thank you so much for watching. Bye now. Please subscribe and look at my comments below. I have ways you can purchase any of these items. Thank you. Bye-bye.